Hi, I'm Don, and this is The Hobbyist Geek. Welcome back, y'all. Today, we're going to be taking on another ROKR project. We have the Seahorse Barque. I can't wait. This is my first wooden model ship, so I am really looking forward to it. So let's take a look at the packaging and see what comes inside. Okay, so here is the packaging, and I'm a little concerned. We have some dents and stuff up here. This looks like maybe a little bit of crush to it, and there's something that's kind of rattling a little bit in there, so hopefully this is intact. The product image itself is absolutely spectacular. 603 pieces, age 14 plus. On the back side, we have a nice wireframe with a few of the details, as well as the assembled size in millimeters. So as an American, I have absolutely no idea how big that is. Gotta love those American education, right? All right, cool. Well, let's get this thing open and see what we have and hope everything is okay. All right, well, it looks good so far. Let's see here. Okay, this is pretty light. It does look intact. I don't see any breakages or anything major popping out at me. All right, we'll open this up and see what's inside in a bit. We have our instructions. All right, look at this. This looks beautiful. All right. Let's see here. We got our divider. Aha! Okay. So we've got what looks like some yarn or rope here. Maybe some stickers, little pins, screws, screwdriver. Nice. And, these are plastic. I don't know why, but I was really hoping that these would be cloth or string or something, but that's all right. They're plastic. Real deal. Lots of plastic pieces, though. Uh-oh. That looks like some wax. This is going to have moving parts. That's interesting. Okay, I didn't think that we would have any moving parts in this. Well, let's get the cellophane off the wood and see what we've got. All right. Given the black on black nature of most of these and my tablecloth here, not going to be able to see too much detail, but we do have a small sheet here. That is A, B, the gold one is C, there's D, E, and F is way up there. We have all kinds of plastic parts here, as we covered when we did the box opening. This is like paper, so is this. And then we have this. This is cloth, but because of the way it was packaged, there's some creases here, which I'm not particularly happy about. Not a lot I can do about it. I don't even own an iron, I don't think. But I'm not sure I would want to iron this even if I did. So that's a little unfortunate. It did also have some sandpaper packaged in with the wood, which I would have thought would have been a little dangerous, but okay. Whatever, no electronics to speak of, so that's cool. I think we are good. A quick inspection. I didn't notice anything missing or anything like that, but again, that was just a quick overview inspection, and we'll see how it goes. Let's get some parts out and get started on this thing. Actually, I guess before we get started, I'll let you know I'm using Eileen's or original tacky glue, as well as Impressa wood lubricant for the wax, for wherever we may need it. And I've also got some 600 grit sandpaper for my own sanding needs. Alright, so the way the instructions are laid out, there are various steps, and each step has multiple phases or sections to them. So we're going to take this one by one. Alright, here are the pieces we need for step one, phase one. We're going to kick things off with B6 here. Okay, and this little post on the back is going to go into B16, which looks like a little steering wheel, or rudder wheel, I suppose would be the better way of putting it. Should go in much like that. Now what we're going to do is we're going to take two of these B18 pieces, and we're going to push them through these two holes so that they are centered. And the fat middle of B18 will be right in the center of B6, much like that. I'll do the same with the other. All right. Now with that done, we're going to take B2, and these two holes here will go onto these two pegs right there. Perfect. And we've got B27 on the other side. All right, just like that. This actually kind of looks like a little ship. Okay. Now we're going to take F63. That's this big thing. It's actually got a map of the world printed on it, though it's real hard to tell. And around the four corners here, we are going to put four of these little B17 pieces. All right, should look like that. And then we are going to cover one of them with B14. Looks like it's going to be this one. And it looks like it's right off the coast of South America. So push that down. Excellent. Okay, with that done, we're going to take, this is F37, and we have B15 here. And that'll go directly underneath the center hole. We'll take this assembly, and you've got that big peg on the bottom. That'll go right through here with B15 on the bottom. All right, then we'll take this and we peg it in here. And unless I miss my guess, this is going to match up with the gear we just put in. Let's see. Perfect. That's exactly what it is. So now we have this little assembly, little gear right here, and by turning the gear, you can turn the ship on top. Kind of surprised they didn't have us wax any of that, but you know what? It works just fine even without it. Look at that. And this is almost like a miniature model of the model we're building. That's actually kind of cool. I like this. That's nice. Alrighty, what you see here are the parts needed for step 1, phases 2, 3, and 4. And what we're going to do, we're going to kick things off with this. This is C4. Man, that gold is spectacular. Absolutely love it. And we've got 2 of these C3s, and they're going to push up from the bottom right through these 2 holes here. So let's get that done. All right, should look like that. Now we're going to take this. This is B35. And in these 2 holes here, they'll go right on the pegs we just created. All right, just like that. Now we're going to take A2. There's a big slot right there. That'll go on this end. Just like that. A4, same deal on the other side. Beautiful. Now we're going to take 2 of these C13s, and they're going to go in the little slots underneath to help hold it in place. So just like this. Should look like that when you're done. Same on the other side. Beautiful. Now with that done, we're going to whip out B10 here. And yeah, make sure these 2 holes are facing the front or towards you. And we're going to take these and they're just going to go into here. Look at that. All right. Now, in these 2 holes here, we've got 2 C14s. And the large tab here on the bottom is going to go right into these holes. Should look like that when you're done. Make sure these little pegs here are facing forward. And we've got C11 with the 2 holes on either side that will go onto those pegs. Should look like that when you're done. And it looks like we have our model stand here, and it is looking absolutely spectacular. Alrighty, here's what you'll need for the first phase of step 2. And we have a 8 here, which I believe is going to give us a good idea of the size of this ship. This is going to be awesome. Now we're going to take F43A here and make sure the curved side is on the same side as the Seahorse here. And this tab will go into the first hole here. And the rear tab will go into the rear hole. Right here. Just like that. And then we've got F43B, same deal on the other side. There we go. All right. And we've got a nice little curve to it. So we are working on that too. Nice. Now, we're going to take A9 here, and we've got B33. B33 is going to go into these 2 holes, just like that. And this whole assembly is going to slot down right here, and there's a little hole in the middle. That's where this peg here will go. Just like that. Now we've got B23 and another B33, and same basic concept, but this time it'll be on the rear. There we go. Both sides done. And we have begun. And that is the end of the first phase of step 2. All right, here are the pieces we'll need for the next phase of step 2. This next part's going to be a little touchy based on the instructions. Basically, take a look at these little notches inside, okay? Believe it or not, that's a screw hole. So you're going to want to go for the first notch, the one closest to the center of the hull on either side. And you'll notice there are some screw holes here, right here, and right here. So we're going to take 2 of the screws, which are P7s out of bag 2. We're going to put them in there. Now, the instructions say, do not over tighten. So I'm guessing that's something that can be done. But you're basically going to want to screw through the hole into that first notch. Okay, so I got one done. Should look like that. And there should be a tiny little gap at the top of the notch here. I don't know if that's showing up on camera or not because it's so small. But it should be in there just like that. It should hold it pretty well, actually. So let me do the other one. All right, and there we go. Looks quite nice. It's got that nice little bend upwards to it. It is holding on fairly well. So cool, very nice. All right, with those in place, we're going to take A3 here. That's going to go in this front slot, just like that. Followed with B20 into the next slot. Then A10, followed by B31, and finally B21. All right. And that is what it should look like at the end of this phase. Very nice. All right, this next section is going to be fun. All right, we got 10 pieces here. These are F44 through F53. And it's got the part number printed right here. And if it's if it looks correct, that means this is the printed side. If you're looking at it and it looks backwards, that is the unprinted side. That's important because the printed side is what faces outward from the ship. Now, the way this goes, you'll notice there are 5 pegs here, okay? On the port side of the ship, that's this side, it's going to be F44, 45, 46, 47, and 48. And on the starboard side, it starts at the top and goes down. F49, F50, F51, 52, 53. So bottom up on port, top down on starboard. And what you'll want to do is in that large hole there, you'll want to put that in the peg. That'll help you keep things aligned. Okay? Now you've got 2 holes here, one smaller, one larger. Don't worry about the smaller one for now, that'll come into play later. Okay? In the larger hole, you'll want to screw and it'll go right into this slot labeled number 1 here. And then on the back, you've got another screw hole and that'll go into the next slot here. And like before, it warns not to over tighten. So let me go ahead and get one done. I'll show you what it looks like and then I'll do the rest. All right. Nice, sweet, and easy. And I think we are ready to move on. This looks good. So, we've got 9 more of these to do. Let me get that done. I'll be right back. Alrighty, and here we have the end of that phase. Look at that, that's absolutely gorgeous. One problem. These two right here, the second and third struts or slats on the starboard side, the holes, for whatever reason, didn't seem to want to line up just right. And I ended up having to glue them, or glue this, so that I could screw them in. So you can see a little bit of white down there from the glue that's still not fully dry yet, which is unfortunate. It's truly unfortunate. But everything else went in just fine. So 2 screws out of 20 had an issue. But this definitely looks awesome, and we're ready to move on. Okay, here are the parts we need for the next phase here. This is H2, and you're going to want to be particularly careful. This is, I don't know, paper, it feels like. Feels like paper, okay? So you definitely want to be very gentle with it. And then you've got these. These are double-sided stickers, okay? So we'll take H2, we're going to flip it over. So we're looking at the back side. And there's just a slight color differentiation, but this is definitely the back side. And what we're going to want to do here, let's get some tweezers out. There we go. We're going to want to put these stickers on the ends here, okay? So I'm basically going to pull one off. I'll show you what I'm talking about. All right, so there we go with one side done. So you're mostly using the big circles, only one case where you've got the thin rectangle, and then you're going to replicate that on the other side. Okay, here we go. Both sides are done. Now here's where things are going to get real interesting. You're going to have to take the pink, orange, red, whatever color that is, off, but leave the double-sided tape on. And this center slot here is actually going to slide into this groove that's right here. These are going to fold up, and the stickers are going to stick on this. But you see all these little holes? Those are going to line up with the little holes on the end of this, because you're going to have to put one of these screws through each one and screw it into the end of these slats. So the instructions basically say to take the sticky part, or the film off, after you've slid it through here, but I'm terrified that if I try to do that, I'm going to tear the paper here. So I'm going to take the film off now, and just be very careful in the way that I do it. How you choose to do it is entirely up to you. Okay, film is off. Let's slide it into that slot there and see how this goes. Okay, there we go, in the slot. Then I'm going to start here and work my way around. Let's see if I can get this done. So what I'm going to do, or try to do, is line up the screw hole with the slat. Yeah. It's so hard to see. All right. So that one's in. Yeah, that one's in. And we'll push this down and let the sticky tape do its job. Move on to the next, and so on and so forth all the way around. All right, there we go. The bow of the ship is done. That was nerve-wracking, to be honest. I managed to do it, no tears. It looks pretty good actually, but it was nerve-wracking trying to make it happen. It is done though, and we can move on. All right, for this next phase in step 2, we're going to take H1, more of this paper stuff here, and basically this is H1 times 2, so don't worry about it if it separates, it's supposed to. Now there's 2 little screw holes right here, and 2 more here and here. And I'm sure you can guess. One goes right there, and the other will go in there, right through those 2 holes. And you do the same for both sides. All right, look at that. Very pretty. Now we're going to take B24 here, and we're going to put it in that big slot. You're going to want to center it as best you can, much like that. Now's the fun part. This is F30. This is a little flexible. The rounded part here is going to go into this slot, and it's going to slide all the way down to fill in the backside here until this hole will get into this tab. So be gentle, let it roll on its own as best you can, and let's see if I can't do this. All right, there it is. Backside has been filled. That looks really good, actually. I like that a lot. All right, here are the parts we're going to need for the last 2 phases of step 2. All right, let's see what we can do about making this happen. So, what we're going to want to do is take 2 of these A7 pieces, and they're going to go onto the peg that we put here, one on either side. Okay, should look like that. And then we take A11, and that's going to go right here to help them maintain separation on the back end. Perfect. Look at that. Now, we got F28 here, and there's a peg here, and then this big bit right here. That peg is going to go into this front slot right here, and the rest will go through these little gaps along the edge. All right, so it should look like this when you're done. You'll notice that it's slotted. Every one of these has a little slot, and it's the lower slot, and it goes through all the way through to the back, and then lines up right here. So we're going to do exactly the same thing with F29 for the other side. All right, there we go. Look at that. Looking good. All right, with that done, there's 4 larger holes up here. We're going to take 4 of these little B34 pieces, and the smaller end is going to go into each of those holes. Okay, like that. And then we've got 2 B30s, and those large holes there will go onto those holes. Trying to make sure that here, let me put this down. Okay, you've got like a perpendicular end on one side and then an angled end. The angled end is on the bow here. So let's push those in. All right, should look like that. And now we have F42. We've got 2 of these. And again, notice there's one side that's got like a cut angle here, and the other side is perpendicular with the peg. The angled end will be at the rear of the ship. And you can see all the little holes all along here. That's what those little pegs are for, one on each side. Okay, there we go, look at that. Very, very nice. And that actually completes step 2. We are moving here. Alrighty, let's get started on step 3. For this first phase, I'm going to kick things off with E29. As you can see, there's nothing on here, but you got this little laser etching. This is the printed side, this is the top. The first thing you want to do is wax from here where these little slots are all the way up, everything forward of those slots. So let's get some wax on there. All right, there we go, all waxed. Now, I could be wrong, but I'm gonna guess that these slots here, there's gonna be some movement. So I'm gonna get some wax inside those as well, just to be safe. All right. That should do it for the wax, at least for now. Next up, we want to do a little preparation. We've got B1 here. We got 7 of them. We've also got E28. We got 10 of those, but we're only going to need 7 for the moment. And basically, it's going to come right through this bottom hole, the long end. You just push it all the way through. So you're left with something like that. And you want to do it for all 7. All right. Now we have 7 of them. What we're going to want to do is take 3 of them, and they're going to go into this slot, and this slot. Skip this second slot here, and basically it'll just push through like this. What we're going to be doing is taking this. This is B25, and you can see there's a hole here, one here, and one here. That is where those posts are going to go. Make sure if your base is in this orientation that this side that's got the 2 little screw holes right there is facing you, and this divot here is facing the front. Okay, now with each one, when you push it all the way through, you'll see the second hole pop up right there. And you're going to want to take another of these E28s and put it through that hole. Just like that. It should lock it in place. Let's do it with the other 2. All right, with all of them in, you can push these down a little bit to try and loosen it a little bit, and then make sure you've got smooth operation. Okay, this thing should go back and forth quite easily. Next up, we've got this. This is B22. Okay, and it's going to push up through this larger hole right here, all the way. There we go. It's pretty much flush here. And you can see two more little holes right here. Okay, and they should match up with the two holes here. Well, what we're going to be doing is taking this hinge and we'll bend it at 90 degrees, give or take, and it's going to go right there and line up with those four holes. And we're going to put 4 more screws in to hold it in place. All right, should look like that when you're done. You should be able to use this to move your assembly. These 4 pieces are not used just yet. They'll come in very, very soon. Okay, for this next phase of step 3, what we're going to do is we're going to take the remaining assemblies like this, and we've got B8 here, and then B32 will go on the other side. Again, make sure that the notch here is facing the bow, and this notch here in the center is actually going to be facing the interior of the ship, and it should line up fairly well like this, so that this slot and this slot will line up with these big slots here. These will come in from underneath, and sure enough, we'll get more E28s to hold them in place like they did in the last step. All right, there we go. With that done, make sure that they slide in and out. And you notice all these little holes all along? Well, we have 16 Y2s. These are the black cannons here. And they've got this big tab on the bottom that will go right into those holes. So let's make that happen. Yeah. Each one should look like that when you're done. Now, if you'll notice, there's like 3 tiers to this. You're going to want to use the outermost and the middle tier. This one on the inside is unused for these tabs. All right, there we go. 16 cannons on 2 sliding rails. Look at that. Very, very cool. All right. This is what we'll need to finish off step 3. This should be awesome. Okay, we're going to kick things off with E27. We're going to need 2 of these, but we'll start with just this one. And we've got E26 here. Oh, that's 24. Is this 26? There we go. E26. Okay. And I'm not even remotely sure where that's going to go. If I'm being honest. Here, in this bottom one, I believe, like that. We'll follow it up with E24, which will go into this rear slot. Then E23. Yeah. That'll go into this slot, but we're going to do this one backwards, like this. There we go, like that. And we'll follow that up with E25 in this top slot right there. Bingo. Look at that, nice little set of steps. And we'll take the other E27 and that will go in on this side to hold it in place. All right, look at that. That actually looks really cool. All right, bringing this puppy back out. Looks like these 4 posts will go into those 4 holes right there. All right, just like that. Now we have 2 A5s, okay? One of them will go into this hole and the other will go into this hole. Look at that, perfect. Now comes the fun part. Okay, let's see if we can do this. We've got Y4. We've got 4 of these puppies. You'll notice there's a long shaft and 2 small shafts on the underside. On the top, there's a longer section and a shorter section. In all cases, the shorter section will go on this centerpiece. And, well, I should say this short pole on the short section. The long one will go on one side or the other in these grooves. And that long pole will go through one of these little holes. There are 4 of them right there. So we'll start here. Should go like that. Now this is pushed backwards and these are as far in as they'll go. So if we pull it forward, yeah, as you can see, it'll straighten out like that. So whichever way is easiest for you to get these set properly. Okay, it can look like that or like that. All right. And with that in place, we're going to take B3 here, and it should be in this orientation. Okay. That doesn't seem right. Nope, this orientation. Should be in this orientation. So the B3 should be legible, but upside down when you're looking at it like this. In these 4 circular holes, that's where the posts on those Y4 pieces will go. And this big long slot here, that's where this handle will go. All right, also you've got your A5s here. So that should work too. And then go ahead and move this up and down several times to make sure your cannon motion is accurate and they're going in and out evenly. As you can see, mine are. That's awesome. Now, we're going to bring out our ship here. And this is going to set down right on it. So, yeah, okay. So these posts here will go into these little slots on the outside here at the front, and everything else should line up just right. And there you go, all done with this beautiful cannon motion right there as well. This is awesome. And that completes step 3. Alrighty-o. Here are the pieces we will need to begin step 4. This is actually for the first 2 phases of step 4. Step 4 is a big one. We'll kick things off with B7 here. You see all these longer slots? Well, that is where we're going to start with E1A here. And it's important to note that E1A is actually going to go, so the lettering here is upside down. All right. That little pin there, it's going to go in that little hole. And then we're going to follow the large slots all the way down. Just like that. And with that done, we're going to take E22B. I believe that's this one. Let's see. It is this one. All right. And in this case, the lettering will be right side up. This large tab will go into this large slot, and then we've got these two holes here for the remaining tabs. There we go. Should look like that when you're done. And now we're going to do exactly the same thing using B28, E1B, and E22A. And there we are. Now we have two. Excuse me. Now we're going to take 14 of these E30 pieces here, and they're going to go into the little slots right in front. And that big tab on the bottom is what will go in. So I'll do one here real quick. Should look like that. And we'll just go down the row and do it for both of these. All right, there you go. Both sides done. Very nice. Now that we've got that done, we're gonna have to do a little bit of assembly here with Y6 and Y5. Okay, and basically what we're going to do is put these together. Now you see these little holes here, those are where those pins go. Make sure that they're facing outward. This will be the front. Okay, so the little symbol, I don't know if that's even showing up on camera, but that little symbol will be facing forward. So let me do one of these real quick. All right, should look like that when you're done, and the door should flap freely forward. So here, I'm gonna need some tweezers. Here you go. So you can see, there it goes, flapping forward. Okay, and you're gonna want to do 16 of them total. So let me get to work here. All right, now we've got all 16 of these puppies done. Excellent. And what we're going to want to do is put them into these holes here so that the door is facing outward. And get one of these done. All right, so should look like that when you're done, with the door able to pop open like that. Now this is A13. This is actually a tool that you can use to help you push this in. If you need a little extra leverage, you can put the edge of it in there and push down on the tool to help pop them in. We're going to do all 16 on both sides. Well, 8 per side. All right, and there we go. All 8 are done on both sides. Beautiful, absolutely beautiful. Now, we're gonna bring this back out. We'll start with this side. That tab right here will go onto this inner hole right there. And then there are slots all along the edge that the rest of it will slide into. Now be careful when you're doing this. Don't just hold it like this, because if those doors end up on top of the cannons, you're gonna make sure that the whole assembly doesn't work. So try to keep it level as best you can, at least until everything's in. All right, so there's one side done, and if you'll notice, there's a little hole here on an outgrowth tab, and it's going to line up with this larger hole that's right here. Okay, so let's get the second one in. All right, and if everything is in great, you should have the two holes lined up right here and here, and we've got B13 that will plug into them. It'll also go into this little slot, it's kind of hard to see, that's there, to really stabilize it with the central frame. There we go. This all the way down, locked in. Now, make sure you give your cannons a test. Look at that. Okay. Now some of these, oh yeah, got hit so hard they flipped all the way over. You don't want that. But, yep, and they all close nice and, well, most of them closed nice and neat. They are working, just a little tight in some places. But cool, very nice. Make sure you test it a few times, and if you need to make adjustments, do so. All right, let's see what's next. All right, here are the parts for the next phase. Short, sweet, and simple. If you take a look here, you'll notice two little holes right here and two more at the aft section. Well, we've got these A1s that have two pegs on either side. So we'll just take two of them and plug them in. So one there and one more up front. Just like that. Very nice. Now, you're going to want to take B4 here and two of these E63s. They're going to go in here and then in here. Again, little bit of a curve. All right, should look like that when you're done. And what you're going to want to do is bring this whole thing in, and it'll sit down. It looks, yeah, like right here. There you go. As you can see, it sits all the way down. Okay, snuggled nicely between this and this. I was going to say nestled, ended up saying snuggled, and then, you get it. From there, we're going to take B19, and that's going to sit on top with these four outer holes here, going on to the four pegs on top of the E63s that we just put in. All right, there we go. Look at that. That phase is complete. We can move on. Alrighty, another nice easy step here. First up, we've got E68. And this big boy is going to come onto here. Now, if you take a look, you've got these two holes here and these two holes here. That is going to be for those A1 pieces that we just put in. And that can help you align everything else. So this big thing here will go through the slot in the back. and so on and so forth, all the way down the line. All right. Whew. Getting that in was fun. But we've got all of our tabs in now. There's a little hole right here and another little hole right here. And we've got two of these E28 pieces that will slide in to help secure this deck in place. All right, and there we go. As always, use your lever here to test functionality of your cannons. And mine are working wonderfully. Beautiful. All right, let's see what's next. Alrighty, y'all, here are the parts that we'll need for this next phase. I'm gonna kick things off with this little E69 right here. We're gonna push this up through E72, right through the middle here. Just like that. And right on top, we've got E73. There we go. And on top of that is E71. Gorgeous. Absolutely gorgeous. And all of this, you got that big tab here. It's gonna go down into this tab right there. Just like that. Now, we're gonna take B12 here, and we've got E62A. I don't know if that's gonna show up or not, but there's a little laser etched circle on this end. And you can see this is a little bit shorter. That's gonna go on this side here. So, starting at the front hole, we'll just push this in. There we go. Get the back one now. Bingo. And now we have E62B. And again, little circle laser etched in. That'll go over on this side. All right, just like that. And we're gonna take this end, and that'll plug into C17 right there. Look at that. All right. And that is actually not right because I skipped a couple steps. I skipped steps because they appeared after that. Ugh. All right, we got E65 here. That's gonna go on basically like this. These two little holes here will line up with these two holes here. And we have E66, two of them to plug in from behind. So you should end up with this, and now it's gonna go onto here. All right, that's better. All right. With that in place, you've got E67 here. That'll go in that little hole in the post back here to help hold everything in place. Just like that. And we're gonna bring this back out again. Okay. Now you see that little notch right there? Well, we got a B11 here that will fit into that notch. Okay, I didn't notice it before, but on B11, it's very hard to tell, but you got a narrow notch here and a large notch here. It's the large notch that is going to go onto this post. So let's get that on. All right. Now we're going to take this, and there are two holes here and here that these posts will go into, and then this will sit on top of that B11 we just put in. All right, there we go. Look at that. Everything is all in and secure. Spectacular. Okay, here's what we need for the next phase of step 4. We're gonna kick things off here. Right here you can see on each of these little outcroppings, there are 5 slots, 1 large and 4 smaller slots. In each of those 4 smaller slots, we're gonna be putting one of these tiny little E64 pieces. Now, when you do so, you'll notice the peg here, and then there's this curved end. Okay, so this small point here will be facing the outside of the ship, regardless of where you're putting it, as long as it's facing the outside of the ship. So we're gonna go ahead and put those in, and there's going to be 16 of them. So should look a little like that when you're done, and then we got 15 more to do. So let me go ahead and get those in. All right, there we go. All 16 are in. And now we've got these two. These are E61. There's 2 of them. They're gonna go into these 2 holes here with the cross portion towards the top. So it should look like that when you're done. All right, now we got a little bit of assembly. First, we're gonna take C1 here, and we got 2 more of these wonderful little E28s. And those are gonna plug in from the back through these holes. Okay, just like that. And on these pegs, we have E58. Should look like that when you're done. Now, we're gonna take E60. We got 2 of these. And in this bottom slot here, we have E58, no, 59, E59. And we'll follow that up with an E57. Okay, and we'll take another E60 and put that on the other side. Okay, should look a little something like that when you're done. And now we get to build a second one. So let me do that. All right, and now I have 2. We're gonna bring this back out again. And first up, we got this. And that is gonna go into these 5 big holes here. Just like that. Look at that thing. Now on either side, there are 2 little holes. And that is where our little stairs are gonna go. All right, there we go. It's actually much easier to get these little stairs in if you put them in first and then put this barrier in. But it is done and we can move on. Okay, here are the parts that we're gonna need for this next phase. We're gonna kick things off with E50. and E48. And E48 is just gonna slide in here. You push it down all the way, just like that. Then we're gonna get this one. Okay, E52 here. Also sliding it on all the way. And then we follow it up with E51. Now here's the important thing. These two slots on the sides, okay? They need to go on the top and bottom of this piece. So make sure you've got your orientation correct. And with all that done, we're gonna take E56 here. We're basically just going to slide this into that little hole there, which should tighten everything up and make sure it all stays intact. Also, looks like a little bell. So that's cool too. Got us our little bell. Looks like that's what we're making, a bell tower. Okay, now we're gonna take E54 here. We have E47, and the little small tab is gonna come up from underneath into there, into the center. Much like that. Okay, now we've got our E53s. Those will go on opposite sides. Beautiful. And E55s, we got two of those. Those will fill in the other two sides. Excellent. Now these two tabs on top will go into the two slots on the bottom of this. Whew, there we go. It actually felt a little touch and go for a bit, but we got it, we got it. All right, almost done. Now you've got two little slots on the top here, and we've got two E49s. These are these tiny little pieces here. And they're gonna go on there with the angle facing outwards to finish off this top here. There we go. Nice and neat. Okay, now we're gonna take C15, and we've got two of these C2s. They're gonna come up from underneath into the holes on either side. Okay, should look like that. And we're gonna have to do this again, so make a second one. Just like that. All right, now we'll bring this back out again. Nice. Okay, and it looks like right here, we've got two little holes and one big hole in the middle. That big hole is for that tab, and the little holes will be for these. So let's go ahead and get all of this in. All right, should look like that when you're done. Awesome. Alrighty, here are the parts we're gonna need for this next phase of step 4. First things first, we're gonna bring this out, and if you take a real close look on the little handle here for the cannons, there are two holes. On the bottom hole, we're gonna be putting in this. This is P3. This is the 10mm shaft. Comes out of bag 1, so we're just gonna slide that in and try to make it as even as possible. There we go. Now it's through. Excellent. With that in place, we're gonna take C9 here. Now this arrow needs to be at the aft side, but pointing towards the bow. Okay, it's gonna go basically like this. You can see there are 4 holes here. There's 4 holes. are for these. We got 4 of these C5s. And they're gonna go into those 4 holes and then into here. Or vice versa. I'm gonna do it this way. There we go. Should look a bit like that when you're done. And now we're gonna take C8, same deal. Arrow will be on the aft end with the point going towards the 4, and the 4 holes on the corners will go over the 4 pegs there. Should look like that. And of course, always, always, always test your mechanism. Make sure that it is coming through just fine. Now, we're going to take E78, and we've got E81 here. And that should go into this first, well, this, I guess, second slot. There we go. Should look like that. We're going to follow that up with E82, and that'll go on the rear side. There we go, look at that. Beautiful. And all of this will come down on this little handle. Just like that. Okay, now we're gonna take P2, which also comes out of bag 1. This is the little 7mm pin, and that's gonna go into the other hole in our slot there, or in our trigger, I guess you can call it. There we go, look at that. And with that in place, we're gonna take E80, and that will cover everything, just like that. We'll follow that up with E79, just like that. And E83 will go into that remaining hole right there. Perfect. And if everything's been done right, you have this beautiful little lifeboat here that should push forward. Yep, and all your cannons come out. How awesome is that? Alrighty, here are the parts we'll need for the next section, and we've got some assemblies to make. I'm going to start with E84 here, and we've got 2 of them. We're going to need 2 of these, and E87 is going to go right on the next bit. Let's see. Yeah, okay. That would be this very small one here. And push it through like that. I'm going to do that twice. Okay. Now we've got an E88. That'll go on top of that. Like that. E89 will be on top of that. Just like this. Then we're going to follow that up with E86. That's this one. And E85. So it should look like this when you're done. And now you want to do a second one just like it. And there we go. Now we've got two. Now we've got these. We're going to start with C18 and C12. We're going to take those two posts, put them right through there. So it should look like that. Now we're going to take C7 here, and we're going to put a C16 on one end. We're going to follow that up with a C6, and then what's left will go into that hole there. Just like that. And now you reverse it for the other side. So you should have an assembly that looks like this. Alright, now we're going to bring this thing back out. You notice these four little holes right here? That would be for our barrel bottoms. Look at that. Now we've got 6 holes around the staircase. We've got 2 C20s. These are the long ones. Those will go fore and aft. And we have a C19 that'll go port side. So let's get those in. And there we go. Little railings around the staircase. Very nice. See those little 4 holes right there? That will be for the 4 posts at the base of this assembly. So let's go ahead and get that in. All right, and there it is. Look at that. Man, this is really coming along. But now we can move on. All right, here's what we're going to need for this next section. First, we got a lot of assemblies. We're going to start with that little piece. That's E75. And we've got this, which is E77. Note that it's got a little anomaly. It's not a perfect circle. It's got this little overhang on one side. That is important because, oh, that must be upside down. There we go. Okay, it should look like that when you're done. That little anomaly like that. And then you're going to take E74, which also has that little anomaly, and match it up with this one so it doesn't just go anyway. There we go. That's one done, and now you have to do it 7 more times. All right, there we go. 8 of them, ready to rock and roll. Now, I'm going to come over here. We're going to take E2A. Yeah, okay, E2A. And we're going to line these up. We got E3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8, which will just come along here. So let me find E4. Here we go, E4. You may not be able to see it, but there's actually a number 1 on there. That tells you it's going to be the first one. So it should go on here like this, just like that. And then you do the one with number 2. Again, this is E5, then 6, 7, and 8 to finish the staircase off. All right. Not perfect by any stretch, but it does look nice. And by the way, this bottom one is actually E3. This is it has number 0 on it. So they don't start at 1, they start at 0. So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So make sure you get that right. And with that done, we're basically going to replicate that with E2B and E16, 17, 18, 19, 20, and 21. So let me go ahead and get those in. All right. And now we have 2 staircases ready to rock and roll. Very, very nice. Time to bring this puppy out. Okay. Now, we're going to start with these horizontal slots here. There's 8 of them. That is for this assembly. Make sure the anomaly that I pointed out is facing the interior of the ship. All right, there we go. All 8 of them are now in place. And that's where we bring out our staircases. And they are going to go into these 2 angled slots and then these 2 angled slots. So let's get those in. Okay, and now our staircases are in. I do hope there's something else to hold these in place because, I don't know, they just seem a little too wobbly to me. I don't know if I should glue them or not. I guess we'll keep building and we shall see. Let's see what comes up next. Alrighty, here is what we'll need for this next phase. Okay, this is going to be a little difficult. Right next to each staircase on the outside, there are 3 little holes. Same over here. And we have this piece here, which is called E9. And it is accordioned so that it can bend ever so slightly. So that's what we're going to do. Stick these 3 posts at the bottom into those 3 holes, 1 on either side. All right, look at that. And the good news is I got my wish. A little something to keep these staircases stable. Very nice. And there's some holes on the inside too. I'm wondering if we're going to be sticking anything in there anytime soon. But for now, what we're going to do is take C21 and 2 of these E75s, and we're going to push them in through those center holes from the back, just like that. Now we have 2 of these E76s, okay, and there's a big hole in the center that's going to go over that post. All right, should look a bit like that when you are done. Now we're going to bring this back out again. And we've got 2 of these C10s. And they are going to go into these holes here and here. Much like that, right there. And then we're going to take our C21 assembly and stick it into the 2 holes behind it. All right, should look like that. Awesome. And to finish it off, we have a 6 here, which will go into these 2 big holes at the rear of the ship. Just like that. All right, let's see what's next. All right, here are the pieces for the next phase. Not much here. I'm going to start with E10 right here. And this big slot right here is going to go over this piece that we just put in, the A6 from the last step. And then there are some posts here and some posts here that will match up on this to hold everything in place. All right, there we go. Sadly, took some of the paint off of here on mine. I'm hoping, since there's a tab up here, that this will not be visible when we're done. It doesn't seem to impact anything other than just, ugh, don't like the look. But everything else went in just fine. So we are good there. Now this is gonna be fun. We have 2 of these E12 pieces. And again, they are accordion for slight posability. Take a look here. The top is going to go into this hole with the bottom into this hole down here, and same on the other side. So this is like the inner railing to these staircases. Yikes, this is going to be interesting. So bottom, top. Let's see if I can't get this in. All right, there we go. Honestly, I'm not entirely sure how, but I managed to get both of those in without breaking either. And that looks really nice. I love these curved stairwells, or staircases. That's really cool. And then you've got the gold doors underneath and everything. Oh, right in here. Oy, what a beautiful piece this is turning out to be. All right, next up, we got 5 of these. These are C22. And the big tab on the bottom is going to go into these 5 slots right here. So let's make us a little semicircle. All right, there we go. Last but not least, we're going to take C23 here, and the posts on the top of the stairwells, that is what is going to go into these 2 holes on either side. Very nice. One might even say beautiful. All right, let's see what's next. Okay, here's what we need for the next step. Now this was a little confusing because it only lists E14 and E15. However, E14 has 7 parts, E15 has 7 parts. They don't really mention that. Now, these are just tiny stairs, and again, incredibly hard to see the numbers that are on there. They are, however, numbered 1 through 14. So, when you combine the 2 of them together, when you combine 14 and 15 together, they're numbered 1 through 14. And then you've got 2 of these E33 staircases, and you're going to build them exactly the same way we built the last staircases. So let me just go ahead and get those done. We're going to build 2 more staircases, and I'll be right back. All right, there we go. 2 new staircases. Awesome. Okay, we're going to bring this thing back out again. And in these 2 little holes here, we have C28. All right, look at that. Then looks like, yeah, just behind it we have E32. Gorgeous. And then just behind that we're going to have E31. And there we go. 1 more door complete. Now in these 2 slots here and here, we've got these E13s. We're just going to shove those in. Interesting that there's holes in the bottom. I wonder what those are going to be for. Now, let's take our staircases here. And, okay. On these back two posts, we're going to have E35. This is actually going to apply to both. We can go ahead and do that now. Okay. And for the E15, which is 1 through 7, that will go into these two slots here. The other assembly will go on the other side. All right, and there we go. Staircases on either side. Man, this thing is coming along. Alrighty, here's what we need for the next step. We do indeed have another assembly. I'm going to kick things off with E40 here. We're going to take E41. I'm going to just pop this through the middle. Okay, now we've got E39 right there. All right, now moving on to this side, we're going to do E11. Followed by E38. And then another of these E39s. All right, beautiful. Okay. I don't know if there's supposed to be a little separation to allow the wheel to turn or not, but I'm going to do that until I'm told otherwise. So I'm going to keep these flush on either side, and the wheel will have a little bit of room in the middle to turn. Then we're going to bring this out again. And you may notice we have a series of holes along here. That, my friends, is for E43, 44, 45, and 46, which are human silhouettes. And they're all going to go into those 4 holes. So we'll start with 43 here, which will go right here. Oof, there we go. That was harder to get in than I thought it was going to be. Now we're going to take E46. We'll put it into this slot here. All right, here we go. Next up is E44 here, and that will go here. And we will follow that up with E45. Just like that. Very nice. And we're going to take E37 here, and that is going to pop on top. So this big hole right here where my thumb is, that's going to go on this tab, and everything else should line up. All right, so the tabs at the top of each staircase and then the tabs on this front wall here all line up, and that will give you a very stable platform here for the next parts. Awesome. Then we're going to take the assembly that we just built, and that is going to go into these 2 slots right here. All right, there we go. Steering wheel is in place and turns. Doesn't turn the rudder, but it turns. Very nice. All right, let's see what's next. Alrighty, here are the parts that we're going to need for the final phase of step 4. Told y'all this is going to be a big one. Alright, let's see if we can't somehow make this happen. For a little bit of assembly, we've got C25 and A12 here. And the 2 posts on A12 will go right into the front of C25. So let's get that done. All right, just like that. Now, we're going to take C38 here. And we've got 5 of these C40 pieces. And they're all going to go into these 5 slots here. Alright, should look like that when you're done. And from there, we're going to take C42. As you can see, 5 holes, 5 tabs. Let's push this puppy in. Alright, just like that. And we're going to finish this off with C39 to go onto the back. All right, there we go. Now that we have those assemblies complete, let's bring this puppy back out again. Okay, we're going to start by taking 2 of these C30s, and they're going to go into these 2 holes and then those 2 holes, just like that. Okay. And then along the front is C29. All right, beautiful. Then we're going to top the railing off with C27 here. Just like that. I don't know if this is supposed to have like a gap in there or not, or if it's supposed to be, flush all the way down. It doesn't really show in the instructions, so I'm going to push it all the way down in case we need these tabs and go from there. Now we're going to take C26 here. That's going to go into these front 2 slots right there. Whew. Okay, just like that. Then we're going to take this assembly and we're going to put it right behind. All right, so far so good. Then we take B26 and the side that's got the 2 posts, that's going to go into these 2 holes here in the rear. Just like that. And then this assembly, you got that big notch right there in the center. That'll go right onto that B26 we just put on. Just like that. And that, my friends, finally completes step 4. Alrighty, y'all, with the completion of step 4, things are definitely looking up, but that is all I've got time for today. I hope you are enjoying this as much as I am. I cannot wait to see what comes next. If you like the video, please remember to like, share, and subscribe, and I will see you next time. Have a great day.